How's it going, YouTube? Coming today with another video, and today I'm live over on Twitch. If you do not already follow my Twitch and you want to watch a lot of my live games, definitely go down below in the description, follow my Twitch, and then you're able to watch when I play and interact with me live. So I am streaming right now. This was a match that I played against Triff. A lot of people were asking me for my gameplay and my thought processes, and I think this is the best way to show it off. This was an absolutely fantastic game. Well played, Triff. This is something that I wanted to show you. A lot of things that I did very well, a lot of things that I could have done better, and there was a line that I could have done in game 2 that we contemplated between me and my teammates, which would have been better. A lot of times in this match, it was realistically just kind of like making sure the game state was correct in terms of like comms between my chat and then Triff's chat, because we were both streaming. But most of this is just, it's directly just from me, just on the fly, just trying to get through. If you do want to see like live gameplay, let me know. I know that's something that you guys want to see, but we're going to do our best here. So just kind of starting off, it looks like we're going to lose the rock, paper, scissors, shoot. So I do draw a pretty good hand. I'm going to let this just kind of speed off into their combo, and Triff does like the 10 pie pile, which is a pretty cool deck. My hand's pretty crazy. I'm really patient here. So like one of the things that I think about a lot is the fact that I have Nibiru, Imperm, and Baldrake. You kind of have to know when to throw them, because a lot of times you're just looking at it like this, and this is a lot less stressful too, because looking at their hand too and then trying to be like, well, where do these fit in, right? Obviously you're not doing that during a game. So my opponent does have Lubellion in the graveyard, so like maybe at some point that's something I want to interact with so my opponent doesn't get to regained. We're already with the Fenrir on board, so if I commit anything that isn't just Nibiru, then I lose it immediately. So it's definitely a little awkward. Just kind of letting them play through. We're starting to see like Fiendsmith cards, and then we're going to be dumping an Engraver, and then going for the Necroquip, and then we see the Engraver hit the board. And now you're like, okay, they're going to say like anything here, and then this is where you could just like drop rock. But we also have Imperm. A lot of times right now what you're seeing is your opponent's going to go summon 2 6s, is everything cool here? And they're checking for Nibiru. And a lot of times they'll be like, nah, I don't have anything here. And then they'll just go for Desiree because they know they're good. So it's kind of like a skill check here where like, if you know that your opponent could be bluffing that they want to go into Wave King, like they think you have Nibiru, and then you're like, summon's fine, then they just go Desiree summon because they're like, oh, they don't have rock, because typically you would rock here. So the next thing for me is that I already have an Imperm, so I'm like, okay, I'm probably fine. I'm just going to let my opponent play. They're just going to go ahead and activate summoning. So now they're leaving Necroquip up because they know that if I drop a hand trap, they get to draw from the Necroquip, right? So definitely a lot of different things going on here in terms of what you're thinking about in your line. So now they're going to go for the sequence. Again, they know that there's no Nibiru at this point, and no, there's no Nibiru, right? I just said it was fine. So now we're seeing the sequence come out, and that's going to go into a Desiree. Go for the Magnemite here, Magma end phase effect, that's fine. Then on the summon of Lubellion, I was like, I don't know. So I'm going to think here, because I was like, maybe I drop rock. But if I drop rock, then they just have this with this, so they can go Fadra and go into like Seal. So I just said the summon is fine, and then the second they use the effective Lubellion, now I'll throw Imperm because there's no equip to the Desiree, so there's no stopping the Imperm right now. So then we're going to go ahead here and see our opponent equip the sequence to the Desiree, go into Seal, and then now I'm just going to drop rock because the Seal's already gone. It doesn't really matter if they summon anything. Our opponent already used Magnemite as well, so like what are we really afraid of here? So just going to go ahead here and tribute the board. They're going to keep the Genroku though, which is fine. So Desiree is going to go here and out the Nibiru. I'm going to start off my turn with the Fenrir. This is always the safest way to go, but you also have an X, so you kind of have to figure out how that's going to play into your combo as well. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and use Fenrir to add the Unicorn. Our opponent realistically right now has Genroku. If they want to go for like Chandra, if they have a second Fadra in their deck, which I assume that they do at this point, because it's just like a really weird scenario to be in otherwise. So I would imagine there is one, right? They do have a Bistro, so they could go Genroku into Chandra, summon a Bistro in battle, and like summon a 10, right? Make Transcendent and like make me like crash my board, so that would suck. There's a lot of things you gotta kind of consider here. Just kind of moving along though. Tract effect now, go ahead and get Ashed. Fenrir to go ahead and banish the Druid so I don't have to worry about it. And then this is another point of thought where I had, because I was like, okay, we get rid of Lubellion here, and I think that's fine because we don't give them immediate access to like get rid of something off their board and get to regained. I could have just gotten rid of Desiree. I always assumed that these types of deck lists play 2 Desiree. A lot of times they could just be streamlined and they're playing 1. So you never really know, and that's one thing where you kind of want to weigh the odds. But if I'm getting into a grind game, the last thing I want is my opponent having a quick access to a regained. So I just get rid of it because I don't want that to be a problem later on, which is perfectly fine with me. Go ahead and summon out the Baldrake, and then just tribute summon out the Unicorn. I said it in chat. There's no way I forgot the Moon in my deck list. Apparently I did at the moment. Trish said to Proxy, I said it doesn't matter because I'm still the 2025 YCS champ coming up. So, you know, it's gonna be great. I can't wait to win my YCS next year myself. It's gonna be a great time. So instead of going for the Moon here, I had to go for Unicorn. We had to pivot our play, which is fine. Sometimes you really have to think about that, right? Because like, if you're in a bad spot, you don't have something, let's say you rip Desires and something's gone, you literally have to be able to just be okay with that and make a play. The second that you get frazzled over it is the second you lose. So I was like, that's fine, just normal summon Unicorn. Birth, bring back Fenrir. Our opponent's going to go ahead and Baldrake now. Genroku effect now. Unicorn effect. They're going to go ahead and chain so they can summon out the Dissipator. I just go main phase 2 and then go ahead and make a Typhon to get rid of the Dissipator because I don't want to deal with it. Which is still fine. We have Fenrir, Birth Banish, and Typhon, so it's a lot. We also have this on the board though, which has been problematic. Having the Nibiru token was honestly very awkward for a little while because the token was kind of big and it was hard to deal with. So we'll see how we deal with that later. Fenrir is going to get beat over here, which is fine. So now we're going to go and see our opponent go for the Pydra, go into Lina. This kind of caught me off guard. Didn't really know what was about to happen. I already saw the extract too because of the Unicorn rip, but we'll go ahead and see afterward. As far as the extract though, I did rip Requiem if you are watching the chat. I think that that's just the most accurate one to rip, especially when there's a Fiendsmith engine, because Requiem's so pivotal, being able to get into like your Necroquip, into a Wave King. Requiem is your follow-up, Requiem is your Paradise, like Requiem's too much. So getting rid of that is always going to be my #1 priority. Seeing my opponent here go for another copy of Tract, which is fine. Put back the Desiree, that's fine. Go for Tract, summon out Lyri, that's fine. Our opponent's going to go into Moon, into a Sequence. So we're just kind of going through the motions here, trying to get our board back together. Going for a Princess now, so they're trying to get back into more lines. So this was interesting because our opponent's going to go ahead here and get the negate off onto the Princess. So that they don't have to be locked, and then they end up passing anyway. So maybe they could win SP and then use that to like banish the Typhon of the Birth. But they ended up passing here on the Biden with the Fadra because for battle phase, obviously there's a really good line here. They have the Desiree, they have Princess, we got the Princess, and the Princess becomes live. So there's a couple different things to think about here. We do have Typhon though, so like Typhon solid, we have Birth. I really want to find a way here to be able to like use Birth, right? Or just make sure that I can actually get through this board. The other thought process is that I have X, and I really want X to resolve. So if I battle over Desiree, and then the Desiree gets rid of the Typhon, main phase 2, I go crazy, right? So that's just my idea here. That's what we're going to try to do. I'm going to call battle phase. They're going to go ahead and use Desiree. They're going to negate the Birth and the Princess. They're going to bring back the Chandra, have a Pydra, Desiree effect here. Go ahead and get rid of the Typhon. And then now they're going to summon Dissipator. So I deal with this Dissipator pretty nice, you'll see here. I really do like this. Just going with the X. Of course, the Dissipator is not really doing a whole lot to that, you know? So just go ahead and Mirio negate. X now is going to get sword. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and grab my ice, and then overlay into Exciton, clear the board, super clean, summon out ice, and I win game 1. So definitely a lot of very technical play, things you got to think about, things you want to play around, things that you got to find important later on, like 3 turns ahead, right? That's one thing that I always try to, you know, tell people is that when things are happening like too much at once, you really want to make sure that you are really focusing in on where your play goes in a couple turns versus right now. My hand is definitely pretty crazy here. Triple hand trap, bonfire, and talent. This is a crazy grind game. Game 1 and Game 2 were definitely very grindy. Game 3 was like less grindy, but we'll see. On the raid soft, I threw the Ash because I did not want to deal with a unicorn, and I could have been okay because I already had Nibiru. But I didn't want to get punished for using anything else because of the unicorn. If Requiem gets ripped, if my one of duo drive gets ripped, and like there's so many things that I just do not want to see get ripped, and it's also just like more bodies, because if I deal with the unicorn and they hold birth back unicorn, it's a whole new problem. So I'd rather them not get onto the unicorn lines because that's just going to be really annoying for me to deal with later. So my opponent's going to go for Tract here and then get to the Larry. Here, I'm going to go ahead and let them equip. They're going to go for Necro equip, and then they're going to go for Engraver, and I actually drew the Engraver because I don't want my opponent to keep being able to net advantage. At this point, if my opponent does make Wave King, I don't have an answer for it, so I need to make sure that I keep them off Wave King. So they're going to go for the Engraver. I'm going to throw the Druid Worm. That's perfectly fine. Opponent normal summons Pydra. Goes for the Link off here into the SP. That's fine. Go for Magnum up. That's cool. They misclicked the field spell. It's not what they were going for. Adding a card here, go Engraver. Starting off with Engraver is always really solid. One of the things that you got to think about, though, is if you're worried about Droll, you don't start Engraver because you get Drolled and this does nothing. You could start this and grab Ice, and that does something. And then you're also able to like bait with this, so at least you have different lines that are pretty optimal. So you gotta think about that in terms of starting, really. But here I'm gonna go ahead and go for the Larry effect to bring it back. Go for a Requiem effect, just summon out Engraver, and then try to bring back the other Engraver. My opponent is going to Baldrake, and this was the way for me to be able to try to proc talent. My opponent is going to Druiswurm the Requiem, and then I'm just gonna talent to take. And then I'm going to take away the Baldrake, go Bonfire for Ice, and then now I can go ahead and go Ice Effect and the Sword. So now I'm going to go ahead and watch my opponent go Wreck into Lack. What do you think happens next, chat? What do you think is the next thing that I was like, I think this does it? I'll show you. I end up Nibiruing my own board in the hopes that Triff would Druis send my Nibiru, and then I could just X. So that was kind of the thought process. I'm going to go into Detonator here first because it checks the Paradise really hard. I didn't chain as much as I should have here, but so Detonator is going to be the first thing to go ahead and pop cards. Start baiting things out here. Desiree effect, go ahead and go after the Kaiman. They're going to get Genroku. My Detonator is going to go. So here we go, the 5th summon with the Genroku. Go ahead and Nibiru. So that is going to be the idea. They don't end up sending it, so I just make Typhon, which is fine. And then now we're going to see the Princess line bring back Genroku. They're going to go Battle Phase first before they bring back Genroku, because with Rate Saw, this is at 3,000, so they couldn't use the effect, so they first had to battle over something. I assumed they were going to battle over Typhon, but they ended up battling over Engraver, which is fine, because it also puts Princess to 29, so it allows them to use the effect of Princess. So now Princess brings back Genroku, Fadra into Genroku, and then now I'm going to go ahead and attempt to battle into the Princess, because again, we want to use her X. We're still trying. So now our opponent's going to go into Chandra effect, go into the Biden bring back Fadra effect, go into Transcendent, and then bring back the Biden. Battle into the Princess here. Go ahead and just normal summon out the X, make the SP, and then try to banish the Biden. Princess revive, SP, get rid of the Transcendent and the SP. The princess comes back, Elstorm the princess. Now we're just in a really weird game state. If I SP, then they regained, which is like super awkward. So now we're gonna go ahead and normal summon Ice. They're gonna regain from Magnuma, which is fine. Summon X out, X grabs Sword. So now I'm gonna overlay like a dummy. I forget that I have their Sangan summoning on my board face down. So we have 3 and 3 right now, which is really unfortunate. So I kind of had to do this a different way. I even say it in chat. I was like, I forgot. It should be a Dweller here, because if I summon Dweller, I feel like I just answer everything, and then I can go Sword into X and play the game. So that was my bad. Definitely unfortunate, because the Dweller here I think solves everything. So now I search when I don't really need to either. So they're gonna go Princess here. I'm just gonna crash X in the Princess and then exit on the board from there. So definitely just go ahead and clear as much as possible. My opponent gets to Fadra. The Fadra is gonna go into the combo line here, into Engraver, and then they're gonna be able to send my Exiton, summon Engraver. I top deck a Baldrake here. And then now, this is where it's weird. Because, look at their graveyard, right? They have quite a few different things going on here, but nothing too crazy. The only thing that I'm really worried about right now is Lacrima bring back Requiem, because they keep having a grind game, right? The other thing is that one of their engravers is banished. This is post game 1, and I put Triff on siding out an engraver. Not unheard of. People usually just play 2, but 3 is pretty common as well. So I put them on, they sided 1 down. The technical play on this one, though, talking it over with my teammates, definitely an interesting spot to be at, because I could just call end phase and wait for my opponent to go Lack, target Wreck, and then just go Baldrake, banish Wreck. I was a little confused on like how I wanted to go about this line, and I ended up saying like, okay, if they sided out an engraver, then I could crash the 2 and then just Baldrake banish the engraver and not have to worry about it, right? But that's kind of how this went. The engraver's going to attack now, crash in, Baldrake banish, and then they go end phase Lack into Wreck, Wreck effect, and then they're going to summon Lack, dump engraver. So definitely a very unfortunate spot. This threatens Chaos Angel. I just scoop. So I probably should have just left the engravers on board, because my opponent would still have a monster, so I'm able to Bistral away the Wreck when they Lack, which is just the best option in that scenario, in my opinion. So finding that out after, definitely unfortunate that was just the better line there, and it gave me a way to keep grinding with my opponent and be able to be in a better spot. But we live and we learn. We see it happen, and then we try to apply it into game 3. So moving into game 3. Now, these have been absolutely phenomenal games. Again, shoutouts to Triff. This is a lot of fun and really good testing. We have Ash, Bonfire, Engraver, D-Barrier, Talent. Hand is gas. Like, this hand is crazy, bro. So, for me, starting off, I'm going to go Engraver here because it's the safest bet. Now, you could argue that I should just Bonfire for Ice because it's safer around Droll. It's been 3 games now going into game 3, and I have not seen Droll at all. It doesn't mean they don't play it, but, like, not as common. So that's one thing where I just went for it, which, again, could cost me the game if I don't just Bonfire first. So that's something else to think about. But so now I'm going to go ahead here and rip the Tract into Lurie effect. Go ahead and bring that back. Go into Wreck. That's going to get Fuwood. I'm going to Ash, Lack, dump Engraver. And so here, I thought about this too, because I already had Engraver Engrave. I probably should have just dumped Paradise here. It plays around more, and I already had Engraver, so there's realistically not a real reason why I didn't just drop Paradise here. So think about that when you're playing. Even if you see yourself do something wrong, think about how you can do better the next time. Even if you're in like a winning position, you still have to figure out a way to do it cleaner next time. Now, if I remember, Triff's hands like Pydra terraforming something else. I don't totally remember. Show both. It was Pydra, Thrust, Fenrir. Okay. I think there was like a terraforming later on, or I don't remember. But I ripped Ogre. And that was the only interrupt that I had to deal with this turn. So I'm free to just kind of pop off wherever I want to go here. I don't want to deal with thrust next turn, so I had to do this a little different. I have D-barrier. I feel pretty safe. So I'm just going to go ahead here and go the engraver effect, go for the sequence, put Desiree on board. Now I had an idea, and so I was just talking about this on stream as I was doing it. I'm going to bonfire for ice. Think about it for 2 seconds, what you think I do here, because I want you to get a good sense of technical play and how you would handle the situation before I do it. My opponent has thrust. They could draw anything. I could just die from Tenpai cards. D-barrier is good for that situation, but this deck does more than just Tenpai things, right? Fenrir is a problem. That card hits the board. I didn't send Paradise, so if I would have sent Paradise earlier, I wouldn't have cared about this as much, but even then, it just turns on thrust. So there's really only one way my mind saw to deal with this situation. Even though there's always multiple ways you can deal with it, there's only one way my mind saw to deal with this. So I'm going to go ahead here and normal summon out Ice. Ice into Sword at X, because if you summon the X there, I can't search because you have a Desiree. I'm going to overlay into Duo Drive. Duo Drive will go ahead and grab me Cross, and I believe Node. Yeah, Node. Node's crazy. Node's so good. So Node, go ahead and get rid of the Duo Drive, activate the Cross, and I'm just going to summon Baguska. Like, I have D-Barrier, Baguska, Desiree. Out it, right? Fenrir doesn't do it. Hydra doesn't do it. Thrust, if I activate something, right? I'm just in a very commanding position with that. So, I'm going to go ahead here and just cross. Go ahead and try to draw a card. Draw Birth. Not a great draw here, but, I mean, it is what it is. It's fine. So, we're going to see the Fenrir come out. My opponent's going to go ahead and banish my Lacrima, which is fine. Go into Moon, go into the Requiem effect here, gonna go out and summon the Engraver. The Engraver is going to equip the Requiem, and so I'm just gonna D-barrier Call Fusion, because the only way I get outed here is if my opponent SPs. And so I was like, what's the easiest way for them to SP right now? And it's literally going Necro Equip so they have a Fusion on board. I don't want that to happen. Call Fusion. My opponent's going to go ahead and summon out Hydra, go into Lina, which again, problematic card. But they go into Princess. Princess, go ahead and beat over the Baguska. That's fine. My opponent still has Thrust. Bring back Hydra. They're in main phase 2 now. That's cool with me. They're going to add the Kaiman. Kaiman effect, sure. Go into Chandra. Chandra effect, sure. That's fine. Go into Biden effect, that's fine. Bring back Chandra. I'm going to go ahead and cross here and draw Baldrake. I'm just going to draw the craziest card here. I will win right after that. Being able to go back in the board here with an X and a Bonfire and a Baldrake is kind of insane. My opponent tries to play the game. I do have the Baldrake to go ahead and get rid of anything. Also gets rid of their follow-up in the Engraver. They have all these on board, but they don't really matter at all because they're not doing anything actively. And even if I try to go battle and they're like problematic, I have Desiree. Desiree is also huge. I can go for Ice and then like full combo. If we show both hands here, we know the last card in their hands Thrust that they never got to use, so like I'm free to pop off and do whatever I want to do. So this is just like more than enough to make sure that I have game. If you want to see more videos like this, definitely let me know. It's really hard for me to do these types of videos because I do have a lot of ticks and twitches and whatnot, so it's hard for me to keep stopping and editing it out. But I will do my best to keep doing this so you have a better idea of how I play the game and what my thought process is, and maybe even do like a really live variant of it. But it's a lot of fun to record these though, because you get a peek into how I play the game, and I hope that you all have a wonderful night and a Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful day, enjoy your day, get some really cool presents, and I'll talk to you in the next video.